Just coming back to the final thing about this population thing. Every major problem in the world is based on population. How come these people in Canberra and Macquarie Street don't understand this?
No, it's absolutely remarkable, and you brought out a very good point that I brought out in those ads that I was running a few years ago.
Yes.
I completely failed, by the way. Most people would stop you in the street and say, Dick, I agree with you, with you, but no political party takes it on. And one of the reasons is they say you're racist. This is the common thing. The ABC is a really strong one for this. They constantly carp away about people who can't afford to get into the property market, poor people, which is absolutely right. They should be covering that, but they never link it to the huge immigration, 200,000 a year, taking us to 100 million in Australia. And one day, by the way, the thing I've heard is that the reason we need this enormous immigration is because people are getting older. But of course, that just makes the problem worse because all of those new people get older and you end up with more people getting older. One day we actually have to live in balance and cope with the fact that people are going to get older because you can't grow forever.
You see, but the point, you're listening to this bloke and I'll tell you, they don't want to listen to him. I mean, if I could talk to him for an hour tonight about aviation, that's another story. Aviation. No, he can't get a look in there. But come back to our children and grandchildren. You've said, do we want an Australia where our children and grandchildren will never have a proper full-time career?
Yeah, well, the reason I'm saying that is that there's only a certain number of jobs available. And in the end, you'll find that you run out. In fact, there are jobs available, but they're jobs that people don't necessarily want, and that's important to look at that. I remember when I started my own business, started Dick Smith Electronics with $610, and I was able to build up that business. That's virtually impossible today. It's really impossible today because of globalisation. The positive side of globalisation is that we're all a lot wealthier, materially speaking, but the chance of someone opening a small business is harder to do. And if we have ever-increasing population, it took me to get, unfortunately, we no longer have a helipad in Sydney anymore, so I had to drive in. It took an hour and a half to get here through the most incredible traffic. Now, wait for it. We're increasing by 200,000 a year. Sydney's going to go from 3 or 4 million to 8 million. What's the traffic going to be like? It's going to be impossible.
You've talked about living in a world of endless, your words, endless travel gridlock. That's as we are today. Now we're going to build on that problem. You've talked about sleepy residential areas, and we know where they are, becoming Singapore-style mini-cities. Just to amplify that point.
Yeah, well, look, the thing we love about Australia is that we've got a small population and lots of open spaces. I fly with my helicopter out over the western suburbs now, and where there was farming land and 5-acre blocks of land, they've now put houses in there, and pity I haven't got a photo with me, where there's no, it's a 1 metre backyard, so there's no room for any trees. There's no room for the kids to play in a cubby house. All of these things that you think, well, then we're going to get more, as we get wealthier, we're going to have money for more room around our houses for our kids to play in, more parks and more bushland. But it's the opposite. Go out on the western suburbs now and the houses are crammed together. They're like slums in Calcutta. They're like slums in Calcutta. Now, you can't complain because that's the only thing that young couples can afford at the moment because we have this pressure from unbelievable immigration. I think I worked out it's something like 5 jumbo loads a week come in full and go out empty with the 200,000 extra we get every year. And I think the Labor government, the federal government, is going to increase it to 250 or 300,000 because that's what the billionaires want.